Okay, welcome to Pre-Cal again. This is another one of my recordings to help you get through certain lessons. What we're looking at right now is in Unit 2. So we've moved on and we're making some progress here, okay? Go away. Thank you. Yep, that was in the way. So we're making some progress. I want to look at what we're looking at. So I'm looking at the unit here, and we're in 2.1, and I've gone ahead and gone into the study. What we're talking about are quadratic equations and the quadratic formulas, okay? Quadratics are the ones that make parabolas. So remember, we're looking at parabolas here, and that's nothing more than just parabolas that we're talking about. So when we look at them in a standard form, this is the way you typically have seen it in Algebra 1 or in Algebra 2. You saw y is equal to ax plus by plus c. And you recognize this A is the character that told you how wide or how skinny or which direction the parabola was going to be pointing. If the A was a positive number, it was a Texas hook'em horns. The ends pointed up. And if it was a negative number, it was a rainbow with the ends pointing down, right? And it was the size of the letter A that told you how wide that parabola was. If it was a very, very, very small number, it was a very, very, very wide parabola. And if it was a very, very, very big number, it was a very, very, very skinny parabola. Exactly opposite of dress sizes and shoe sizes. Doesn't make any sense, but it's exactly opposite of that. Helps you remember which way it goes. Now, from that, there was a couple of other values you needed to know. The value at the end, the C. The C tells you where the parabola crosses the y-axis. Whatever that value C is, that's where it is on that y-axis. You can go up and down, and you can find exactly where it's crossing the y-axis that way. Now the question always came when you're looking at this one, how do you find the vertex? The vertex of the equation was a point that was either the minimum point or the maximum point. Easiest way to do it was to use the calculator and try to do some tracing and see if you can find it that way. But there are other forms that give you that vertex a little bit easier. This is one of them. It was called the vertex form. It says y is equal to k, or y minus k is equal to a times x minus h quantity squared, and where hk is the vertex point. Now I want you to notice in this one, the h and the k in the equation both have negative signs in front of them, but the vertex itself is a positive h and k. So you have to reverse the signs on both of them to find that vertex every single time. That's the tricky part of this one. Okay? This was really good, but it doesn't meet a lot of the things that you need for physics. The ones that you're going to use in physics most of the time is this one right here. Why? Because this x squared here, that's usually indicator of speed. I'm sorry, that's usually indicator of acceleration. So the a in front of it is telling you the acceleration. If you're looking at a ball being thrown up in the air and coming down, well, that's gravity that's affecting it, and the acceleration is negative 9.8 meters per second. Per second. Meters per second squared, right? And then this b was the speed that the ball was initial velocity. So if it was thrown at 25 miles per hour, it was you'd have that negative 9.8 meters per second, and then time x plus 25 meters per second as the speed, x plus c. We start out at the initial height of the ball. So if you threw it from your shoulder, probably about 3 or 4 feet up. Okay? Or 2 or 3 meters up. Okay? So that's the way you use this equation in a physics class. This one over here, you could convert to this equation and it would tell you the vertex. Well, that vertex in throwing that ball would be the highest point on the ball, and that's why this equation was usually used, was to find that vertex, that highest point in that particular parabola. And then this intercept form was looking at, well, if I know the two intercepts, the places where it hits the x and the y axis, I can use this intercept form. What are we looking at here? we're looking at R10 is the x-intercept and R20 is the other x-intercept. And you can see how they're doing x minus R1 and x minus R2 times this a value here is equal to y. That's the only thing you needed to do. If you knew those intercepts, you could work it out and find that value. Excellent, excellent work in trying to do it. Now, this chapter is going to talk a lot about how to find some of the basic points in a parabola, finding the intercepts, finding the axis of symmetry. It's always going to be x equal to something because a parabola points up or it points down, and that axis of symmetry runs right down the middle of it. So it's x equals something. That's the axis of symmetry. Always runs through the vertex. So if you're using the vertex form here, guess what the x value is? H. So the axis of symmetry is always at x equals h. And you can use that to help you find where the parabola is located. Okay? Now, how do I do parabolas? Dirty, down, and quick, depending upon which form I'm given. If I'm given the vertex form, I'll draw the axis of symmetry. I'll draw that line right down H. I look over there and I say, I wonder if I could figure out what the value where it's crossing the y-axis. What almost always is this value right here, this minus k. It's pretty close to it anyway, but I could always square this out, multiply it times a, and add the k to the other side. Sometimes I'll get there, sometimes I won't. And then I'll find that point where it crosses the y-axis. Then I've got this, I've got that. I can just kind of sketch where where it goes. Might not be real accurate, but it gets me that parabola real quickly and tells me exactly what I need to know. If I've got these the intercepts here, I will plot those intercepts on there. And I'm looking at this A. That's telling me how wide it is. It's also telling me whether it points up or down. And I can sketch the parabola real quickly. If I've got the standard form, I've got the A here. That A is telling me whether it points up or down, how wide or how skinny it is. I've got this C value. That is the y-intercept. I use those. I plot the points that I need to plot, and I sketch them out real quickly. Okay? Lack of any of those things, you've always got something that comes in handy. Calculator. Key the equation in, look what it looks like, and put it on paper if you need to. That is your best friend when you're dealing with parabolas sometimes. So, having given you all this, the lesson is going to be talking a lot about how to convert from one format to another and all these special points that you need to be finding. I hope this helps. If you have questions when you're working through the problems, make certain you're asking because I want to try to help you as much as I possibly can. Okay? So, having said that, let's go back to our slides here. I think there's just a couple things I wanted to say before I wrap it up. And, yep, just a couple things. One, don't forget about the due dates. Don't get caught with something being late. You're doing a real good job at keeping it all turned in, so just keep up the good work. Okay? When you're communicating with me, make certain you tell me you're in pre-cal so that I know to go where to look for you. You don't tell me that information, I'm having to hunt around to figure out what class you're in. And usually I can find it, but it's much easier if you tell me up front. Okay? Yep, that's all, and I guess I will see you at the next class.